Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. Can I have a mover and seconder to call the meeting to order, please? Councillor Cabral, Deputy Mayor Coughlin, that the special meeting of the Council of the Township of Springwater of July 27, 2020 come to order at 6:32 p.m. All those in favor? Carried. Due to COVID-19, Council is taking the necessary steps to limit in-person meetings. So the rest of Council is tuning in virtually. We do have staff here tonight because this will be reviewing planning matters, but we are ensuring that we are social distancing. You can watch this meeting live online at www.springwater.ca/live. You can listen to the meeting live from a telephone or a cellular device by calling 647-558-0588 and using the ID 880-2141-4349 #. This option is available during the meeting. For those who are unable to watch the live stream, you can review the meeting at your convenience by watching the video on the Township's YouTube channel. We'd be glad to provide you with that link. Before we start, Council, are there any pecuniary interests this evening? Seeing none. Can I have a mover and a seconder to call the meeting to order, please? Councillor Moore and Councillor Ma, that this public meeting of Council held under Section 34 of the Planning Act, application ZB 2020-02 by 1953518 Ontario Limited, Woods, TU 2019-004 by Adams, and ZB 219-012 by Christine Loft, on behalf of K and G Rounds, be called to order at 6:35 p.m. All those in favor? Carried. We're starting with ZB First, the purpose of the meeting. Welcome to this public meeting of Springwater Township Council held in compliance with Section 34 of the Planning Act to give the public an opportunity to express their views in regard to proposed amendments to the Township of Springwater zoning bylaw 5000 as amended. The first part of the meeting is to present the amendments. Following, the public will be given an opportunity to make an oral submission through the Zoom application. Any person wishing to make an oral submission must have notified the Township prior to 8:30 a.m. this morning and must have been added to the commenters list. If a person or public body who files an appeal of a decision of the Township of Springwater in respect of a proposed zoning bylaw amendment does not make oral submission at a public meeting or written submissions to the Township of Springwater before the proposed zoning bylaw amendments are passed, the local planning appeal tribunal may dismiss all or part of the appeal. All comments or questions should be addressed through myself as chair. Oral submissions will be included in this meeting's minutes and form part of the public record, including the name and address of the speaker as information collected under the Municipal Freedom of Information Protection of Privacy Act. The minutes of the meeting will be posted on the Township's website. The first matter we're dealing with is ZB 2020-002 by Tyler K. Wall on behalf of 1953518 Ontario Limited, pertaining to Woods at 21 and 25 Yonge Street North. I will now call upon Clerk Ainsworth to confirm notice of this meeting and the dates on which notice was given.
Notice of this public meeting was mailed on the 30th day of June, 2020, to the owner of the subject lands and to the assessed owners of 64 properties in the Township of Springwater within 120 meters of the area to which the proposed amendment would apply, and to all persons and public bodies as prescribed under the Planning Act and its regulations. Notice was also posted at the assessed property to which the proposed amendment applies, at a location that was visible from Yonge Street North. The notice was also placed on the Township website.
And has the Planning Department received any correspondence in response to the notice of public meeting?
No correspondence has been received.
I will now call Tyler Cawell of Innovative Planning Solutions to give a brief explanation of the purpose and effect of the proposal. Council members and the public can follow along with the presentation, which has been included in the agenda.
Good evening, Your Worship, Council, staff, and members of the public. My name is Tyler Cawell. I'm a planner with Innovative Planning Solutions, and I'm pleased to represent the applicant regarding a zoning bylaw amendment application for 21 and 25 Yonge Street North in Elmville. Now, as my screen won't be shared tonight, I will be indicating verbally when I'm changing slides just so everybody can follow along. So I'm going to the next slide. The subject lands are located on the east side of Yonge Street, just north of the Foodland. The area generally consists of a mix of both residential and commercial uses. 21 Yonge currently contains a 15-unit residential apartment building and a paved parking area for residents. 25 Yonge is currently vacant, with a section of paved parking existing along the southern property line associated with 21 Yonge. I will be changing slides. 21 Yonge, the southern parcel, has 33.1 meters of frontage, a lot area of approximately 0.2 hectares, and is zoned residential 3 or R3. 25 Yonge has 27.1 meters of frontage with an area of 0.16 hectares, and is zoned general commercial or CG. A legal non-conforming south side yard setback has been identified on 21 Yonge, as the existing apartment building is set back approximately 1.1 meters from the south side yard, whereas 10.5 meters is required by the bylaw. Next slide. An application for boundary adjustment was heard and conditionally approved by the Township's Committee of Adjustment on March 11th, 2020, to adjust the boundaries of 21 and 25 Yonge to bring the entirety of the existing parking area into the 21 Yonge property. This maintains the residential function and layout of 21 Yonge while eliminating encroachment of the paved parking area on 25 Yonge, which is a commercial property. Condition number 4 of the committee approval requires rezoning of the conveyed lands to ensure consistent zoning. Next slide. The purpose of the zoning bylaw amendment being considered tonight is to rezone the added lands to 21 Yonge from general commercial to residential 3, with a special provision to legalize the existing south interior side yard setback of 1.1 meters. The balance of 21 Yonge will keep its general commercial or CG zoning. Next slide. Based on the zoning tables shown here, both properties would meet all zoning requirements with the exception of the previously mentioned existing deficient south side yard setback on 21 Yonge, highlighted in yellow on that table on the left. Next slide. In conclusion, the zoning bylaw amendment will satisfy condition number 4 of the recent Committee of Adjustment decision and ensures lands transferred to 21 Yonge are appropriately zoned for residential use, along with a special provision to legalize the existing south interior side yard setback of 1.1 meters. The balance of 25 Yonge would remain commercially zoned, and both properties would continue to meet all other zoning provisions. The amendment provides zoning compliance and consistency, resulting in 1 vacant commercial property available for commercial development without encumbrances, and 1 residential property containing its required parking. For these reasons, we believe the application is consistent with the goals and objectives of planning policy at all levels and represents good planning. This concludes my presentation, Your Worship. I would be happy to answer any questions or comments you might have at this time. Thanks.
Thank you. I'll now call upon the moderator to provide the number of people who have registered to ask questions or make comments regarding this application.
Thank you, Mayor Allen. There are no commenters registered to make an oral submission in regards to this application.
Thank you. Do any members of council have questions or comments regarding this application? Okay, there doesn't appear to be. So, thank you all who participated in the public meeting with respect to the proposed zoning bylaw amendment and for showing an interest in this matter. Next, we have TU 219-004 by Carrie Adams on behalf of Cottonwood Management, Inc., at 2364 South Orr Lake Road. I'll now call upon the clerk to confirm notice of this meeting and the dates on which notice was given.
Notice of this public meeting was mailed on the 30th day of June, 2020, to the owner of the subject lands and to the assessed owners of 41 properties in the township of Springwater within 240 meters of the area to which the proposed amendment would apply, and to all persons and public bodies as prescribed under the Planning Act and its regulations. Notice was also posted at the assessed property to which the proposed amendment applies, at a location that was visible from South Orr Lake Road. The notice was also placed on the township website.
Has the planning department received any correspondence in response to the notice of the public meeting?
Correspondence was received from the Nottawasaga Valley Conservation Authority.
I now call upon Planner Deborah Ann Lisk to give a brief explanation of the purpose and effect of the proposal. Council members and the public can follow along with the presentation which has been included in the agenda.
Thank you, Mayor Allen. Application TU 2019-004 is a temporary use application for a temporary garden suite to be located on 2364 South Orr Lake Road. The property is zoned residential conversion, which permits residential uses. Staff have reviewed all applicable policies and are recommending approval, subject to the comments received at tonight's public meeting. If approved, the garden suite would be permitted for a 10-year extendable period, subject to a temporary agreement along with securities. This concludes all of my comments on this application. I'd be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. I now call upon the moderator to provide the number of people who have registered to ask questions or make comments regarding this application.
There are no commenters registered to make an oral submission in regards to this application.
Thank you. Do any members of council have questions or comments regarding this application? Councillor Hanna?
Thank you. I would just like clarification why this is a temporary versus a permanent structure, given that my understanding is if it was permanent, we could collect some DC charges.
Planner Lisk?
Thank you, Mayor Allen, to Councillor Hanna. The applicant chose to do it as a temporary garden suite. Both options were presented to them at that time, and they chose to do the temporary suite. Development charges are waived for temporary garden suites at this time. Thank you.
I have a question. The diagram indicated that the septic system would be, a new septic system would be installed. So as I read it, it's going to be in front of the of the garden suite, and that would service the existing residents plus the garden suite. Is that correct?
Thank you, Mayor Allen. I believe the proposed new septic system is just for the garden suite.
I see. So the existing septic system is located with respect to the single-family dwelling.
Yes, you're correct. It's located closer to the existing dwelling on the property.
But is it on the lake side or on the road side? Is it in between the garden shed and the dwelling, the tiles I'm talking about, or is it on the lake side?
I believe it's in between the garden shed and the dwelling. The proposed new system is in front of where the proposed garden suite will be located and will be subject to all the appropriate permits issued by the Township Building Department.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Cabral? You have trouble with that mute button. Your lips are moving.
Thank you. My lips are moving, but you can't hear what I'm saying.
It's not that we don't like your singing. Maybe you should go back to the singing and we'd hear you
It
faster.
should, be automatic, really. As soon as my mouth moves, it should automatically pick it up. But anyway, with respect to the existing structures that are there, I notice it says that they are to be removed along with the septic bed. And I can see that the septic bed for the garden suite is going to be between the garden suite and South Orr Lake Road. And I guess my question would be, with respect to them taking down the existing residential house and shed, Have they given any indication where they plan on building the actual residential permanent place in relationship to Orr Lake? Closer to Orr Lake, on the same footprint as the present structure? Do we have any information on that?
Planner Lisk, it's the original structure staying, isn't it?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Cabral. The original house on the property, I know the applicant has indicated it will be demolished. That's a future plan. The existing house right now is still there and will continue to be there until they apply for that demo permit. I do know just from discussions with the applicant, when they do go to rebuild that house, I think they're working at a similar footprint to where that existing house is. But again, there's been no permits submitted at this time for that.
Thank you. I was just concerned why it seems from their drawing that they're going to remove it and then they're going to build the garden suite prior to building the house. But thank you very much for the clarification.
Okay, thank you all who participated in the public meeting with respect to the proposed temporary use bylaw and for showing interest in this matter. The next matter is ZB 219012 by Christine Loft on behalf of K and G Rounds at 1922 County Road 92. I'll now call upon the clerk to confirm notice of this meeting and the dates on which notice was given.
Notice of this public meeting was mailed on the 30th day of June, 2020, to the owner of the subject lands and to the assessed owners of 10 properties in the township of Springwater within 240 meters of the area to which the proposed amendment would apply, and to all persons and public bodies as prescribed under the Planning Act and its regulations. Notice was also posted at the assessed property to which the proposed amendment applies at a location that was visible from County Road 92. The notice was also placed on the township website.
And has the planning department received any correspondence in response to the notice of the public meeting?
Correspondence has been received from the County of Simcoe, from the Nottawasaga Valley Conservation Authority, and from Diane Ritchie.
Thank you. I'll now call upon Christine Loft of Loft Planning to give a brief explanation of the purpose and effect of the proposal. Council members and the public can follow along with the presentation, which has been included in the agenda. Ms. Loft?
Thank you. Good evening. Good evening to council, staff, and those in the public. My name is Christine Loft, and I'm representing the Rounds on this application. So the property is 1922 County Road 92. This is an application that council has seen before. We held a public meeting in January or on January 15th, 2020 for an official plan amendment as well as an implementing zoning bylaw amendment. So council has now adopted the bylaw for OPA 60 and it's at the county now for approval. However, after the public meeting, Brent and I had continued to have conversations and we came to the mutual understanding that some changes to the draft bylaw should be made in order to really reflect what the Rounds wished for, as well as the Schedule A. And because of those proposed changes to the bylaw and the change in Schedule A, it was felt that there should be a second public meeting. So hence we're here tonight. So the purpose of the proposed zoning bylaw amendment is to amend the Schedule A and to permit the additional on-farm diversified uses on the subject property, as well as additional ancillary uses permissions, which includes the water slide. So if you can just turn to I'm on the third slide now. So the property is at 922 County Road 92 between Saga Beach and Elmvale. The property is 50.6 hectares in area. The area you'll see zoned for the actual Rounds Ranch portion is about 6 hectares. There's lot frontage of 750 meters. Next slide. So the official plan, as I said, the official plan amendment was adopted by council June 20th and is now with the county, and we're waiting for approval. So this zoning bylaw would implement that the OPA that was passed and is consistent with the verbiage of the County of Simcoe official plan that exists today with respect to the on-farm diversified uses. Slide 5. I provided the site plan. Council would have seen this at the previous meeting. I won't go in. I think I went into a lot of detail at the previous public meeting, but generally there are no changes proposed from what you see today. So slide 6. So slide 6 is actually the amended Schedule A. So originally, the A33, which does exist, however, it was a smaller portion of the property. And so we've removed the ME zone, a mineral extraction zone, and which of course is no longer being used. So that portion of the property is now within the A33 as well. And Brent and I agreed that it sort of cleaned up the zoning and reduced or got rid of that ME zoning on the property. And as well, the remainder of the property, which is farmed, now will have a special exception on it as well, and I'll speak to that in a moment. So those are really, the bylaw is really threefold. It included additional verbiage in the A33. It included the XY exception on the retain or the larger parcel of land, the agricultural piece, as well as amended the Schedule A to reduce the ME zone and create an additional A33 area. And the next slide, so just the next slide is virtually the draft bylaw. So just the bottom 3 paragraphs. The A33 just includes the on-farm diversified uses and includes the water slide as a permission. The XY zone, which is the agricultural lands, will permit uses like wagon rides, the corn maze, and seasonal events. So those uses do exist today. And as you can appreciate, those types of uses do move around the property, as for example, the corn would be growing in different fields on different years. So obviously the corn maze area would move accordingly. And the last section was the replacement of the aggregate extractive zone, that ME zone, and being replaced then with the agricultural exception 33. So the changes were minor, but there were definitely changes from the previous public meeting held. And the last slide is just a conclusion slide. So the amendment is consistent with provincial policy, does conform to the County of Simcoe official plan, and conforms to the Township of Springwater official plan as amended by OPA 60. And those are my comments.
Thank you, Ms. Loft. I'll now call upon the moderator to provide the number of people who have registered to ask questions or make comments regarding this application.
Thank you, Mayor Allen. There are no commenters registered to make an oral submission in regards to this application.
Okay, I turn to council with any questions or comments regarding this application. Councillor Cabral.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor Allen. I actually just wanted to ask Director Spagnol, if possible, through you. With respect to the ministry, their letter had a specified distance from the roadway, and I know that the slide there does end at the roadside on 92. I was wondering if that particular distance is already being met now. That's the first one. And the second one is, according to Ms. Ritchie there, her fear is the kids are coming down the slide towards the roadway, but in the report, the Technical Standards, Safety Standards Association, they would be approving the slide itself prior to it being put into use. I just want to make sure that I read it correctly there.
Director Spagnol.
Thank you, Mayor Allen, through to Councillor Cabral. The first question regarding the setback for the county. So the county requires a 15-meter setback from the county road. The applicant is required to meet that setback. Now, I'd have to put the question over to Planner Loft, who's acting on behalf of the rounds to confirm what that setback is. However, that setback, to my knowledge, applies to buildings and structures. And in this case here, where you've got a slide where, you know, it's essentially filled area with a big hill, I'm not too sure if that would apply from a setback perspective to the county's requirement. But that said, that's something that would have to be determined and confirmed by the county ahead of time. And if there's a requirement for a variance to that setback, the applicant would have to apply to the county for a variance on that 15-meter setback from the county road.
Planner Loft, can you clarify the setback in your opinion, please?
So I did have Mr. Rounds go out and measure. Of course, it's difficult because he doesn't exactly know where the road allowance is. We believe that it's met for the actual slide portion. However, the lower landing, as Brent said, so non-structure, but the landing area may be close to that 15 meters. So we're confirming that now. We may need to have the surveyor come out just identify that lot line. And then we would decide if we would go to the county for the variance or if there can be some shifting completed. But it isn't a structure, and so we would go, if we are within that 15 or right on, then we would confirm that with the county.
Okay, other questions, comments, council?
Sorry, follow up, Mayor Allen, with respect to the technical standards approval?
Yes. Director Spagnell?
Thank you, Mayor Allen, through you to Councillor Cabral. So I confirmed through the chief building official that the Technical Standards and Safety Authority, the TSSA, would have to do inspections on the slide prior to it being operated on or prior to being open. So that is a safety requirement that would have to be addressed prior to its use.
Okay, thank you.
Deputy Mayor Coughlin? Did you have a question?
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Through you, Mayor Allen. During the presentation, it was referred to the AXY lands as retained lands. Is there a severance being involved as well? Or is that just designation? It was just referred to as retained.
Planner? Sorry, go ahead.
Thank you through the chair. Yes, sorry, it's just a larger land holding, the agricultural lands. No severance.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, that appears, follow on?
Yeah, thank you. And then also, when it says, and then the section, the 33, I'm just curious as to when it says on-farm diversified uses, and I'm just curious how a water slide becomes diversified from agricultural use.
Planner Loft?
Thank you, through the chair. So the on-farm diversified uses, we utilize the ministry's wording and definitions in the agricultural guidelines. And so really, since pre-consultation, we've discussed how these types of uses can fit into that on-farm diversified. We do think there's a wide range of the types of uses. And when we had initially met with the municipality and the county, we felt that rather than coming up with some separate definition, we would utilize the on-farm diversified uses. It does include all sorts of play apparatus. If you look at the agricultural guideline definitions, and that this would be a similar type of use as a children's apparatus, play apparatus.
Follow on?
Thank you. And then as we move forward, and hopefully we do see more of these types of operations in Springwater, I'm just curious as to the tax rate being paid. So for when something is on farm, if it's agricultural, and then it becomes a commercial or a recreational, what type of tax rate is being paid on which portion of the land, or is it all being paid as agricultural taxes?
I'll turn that to CAO Schmidt. I don't think Director Corbeil is on the line, is she?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would have to familiarize myself with the tax assessment on this property. My understanding is it would be assessed based on the use. So if there's commercial use, then part of the property would be assessed commercial, part of it could be assessed agricultural, part of it could be assessed residential. But I'd have to double check with the actual assessment on the property, as I don't have that information in front of me.
Okay, we'll do a bit of research and we can follow up on that then, Deputy Mayor. Okay, thank you all who participated in the public meeting with respect to the proposed zoning amendment and for showing an interest in this matter. Can I have a mover and seconder to adjourn this meeting, please? Councillor Cabral, Councillor Ritchie, that this public meeting of council held under Section 34 of the Planning Act for application ZB 220002 by 1953518 Ontario Limited TU-219-004 by Adams, and ZB 219-012 by Christine Loff on behalf of K&G Rounds does now adjourn at 7:02 PM. All those in favor? Carried. Next, we're bringing forward the reports, and then we'll be looking at the bylaws submitted for each of these. So I need a mover and seconder for the first one, ZB 220-002. Councillor Cabral, Councillor Ritchie, that the report from Senior Planner regarding ZB 220-002 Woods dated July 27, 2020 be received, and that subject to the comments received at the public meeting, a bylaw be submitted to council for consideration and approval on July 27, 2020. All those in favor? Carried. Next, I need a mover and seconder for the Cottonwood Management, Inc. Plan property. Councillor Ma and Councillor Moore, that the report from the planner regarding TU 219-004 Cottonwood Management, Inc. dated July 27, 2020 be received, and that subject to comments received at the public meeting, a temporary use bylaw be submitted to council for considerations and approval on July 27, 2020. All those in favor? Carried. And a mover and a seconder for the final ZB 219-012, Councillor Cabral and Councillor Hanna. That ZB 219-012 Rounds Ranch, 1922 County Road 92 report dated July 27, 2020 be received, and that subject to the comments received at the public meeting, a bylaw be submitted to council for consideration and approval on July 27, 2020. All those in favor? Carried. And now we will approve a review of the bylaws. A mover and seconder to get these on the floor. Councillor Ritchie, Deputy Mayor Coughlin, that the bylaws listed herein be signed and sealed by the mayor and clerk. 5000-312 related to 1953518 Ontario Limited Woods. 5000-310 related to Cottonwood Management, Inc. Garden Suite, and 5000-315 related to Rounds Ranch. All those in favor? Carried. And mover and seconder to confirm and adopt the proceedings. Deputy Mayor Coughlin and Councillor Ma, that bylaw 220-054 to confirm and adopt the proceedings of council at the special meeting held on July 27, 2020 listed herein be signed and sealed by the mayor and clerk. All those in favor? Carried. And a mover and seconder to adjourn. Councillor Cabral and Deputy Mayor Coughlin, that the special meeting of the Township of Springwater does now adjourn at 7:05 PM to meet again in a regular meeting on August the 5th, 2020 at 6:30 PM in the Council Chambers, Administration Center, Minising. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you and good night.